DC Multiverse!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Today, let's take a peekaroo at the Batman, Catwoman, the Penguin, and the Riddler from McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse action figure line based on Matt Reeves' The Batman. Each one of these action figures comes with a trading card and has their own accessories, be it Batman's grapple gun, Catwoman's whip, the Penguin's extra hands, or the Riddler's, I think that's a chisel. The trading card for each of the characters has an image of the figure in an action pose, and each one of these has absolutely fantastic action figure photography. So let's first start with the Bat and have a close look at him first. Toe to head, here's a close look at the action figure and the details of his suit. This is actually one of the best looks that we've gotten so far at what Pattinson will be wearing in the movie. It has a very early Batman sort of year one vibe to it. Hey, I made this in my garage out of things I had lying around kind of look to it. Overall, I think that Todd has done a pretty good job of capturing the basic likeness of Robert Pattinson's Batman costume in action figure form. The first thing that stands out to me about this Batman figure is actually the head sculpt. The bottom, the chin there, actually looks like Robert Pattinson, and the cowl actually looks like the cowl is supposed to look. Right down to the stitch lines where you can see Bruce Wayne has sewn this bad boy together. I think that Todd did a fantastic job. You will notice that the eyes are looking off to one side because, well, I'm not sure. Have a little faith in Todd that eventually this will be changed. He is listening to us and we won't have to deal with this side-eye thing forever. Batman's utility belt looks, I think, movie accurate. You've got the longer pouches here with the buttons and the shorter ones here on this side. You got the things for the loops for hanging things off. On the back, you have more pouches. Batman's arm gauntlets with the, I'm still not sure what these are. I want to say they look like crossbow arrows, but I haven't seen him with a crossbow yet anywhere in the movie, so I really don't know what those are.
Okay, wait a minute. I just want to stop right here and admit that I have no idea what those things are on his gauntlets. I mean, there was a time when I thought maybe that they were crossbow arrows, but Batman doesn't use a crossbow. He's not the Huntress. He uses batarangs, the back grapple, all kinds of things, but you don't really ever see Batman use a crossbow. It's not like he's a vampire hunter or something like that. So it's just the idea of them being crossbow bolts is really strange. However, the length of them and then the size of his back grapple, maybe they're easily reachable on his forearms because he can stick each one in his back grapple, and then when he shoots it off, maybe the rounded bit at the end is actually intended to pop out like with spikes, like it'll grab onto like the edge of a building, or maybe it sticks into the brick or something like that, and the line is coiled up individually in each one of the shafts. That could be a thing too, but honestly, I don't know. There's so much about this here Batman suit that none of us know because we haven't seen the movie yet. It's weird that we have a chance to review the figures before we've watched the movie. We don't know anything really about what that is in his chest, the inlay that is the kind of bat symbol. It's not really about, but we don't really know what that is. I don't know if the scallops on his gloves are actually solid for blocking, just like it's been depicted in the comic books and also in all the movies, or whether at this point in his first suit here, they're just leather straps simply used to tighten, the gauntlets on his wrists. We have no idea. I'm going to have to wait and see, just like everybody else, and watch the movie in the theater.
His heavy shoulder pads right here, which he has on both arms to protect him from, I guess, blows to the shoulder. You've got his armor here. This is a really unique look for the Batman, that's for sure. Down here for his bat trousers, you can see he's got the plates on his legs here, the armor there with the belts that go around, the knee pads. You've got his bat boots that you really get the idea that it's a set of boots here that he's wearing, and then there's a cover that goes up his leg there, and you can see the zipper down the side right there. Batman's cape is a nice soft rubber. I like how bendy this is, and lifting it up you can see a better view of the back and the armor that he's wearing. One thing that's kind of strange to me is the fact that he comes with an open grabby hand, and yet his bat grapple actually attaches to his hand via a nub that sticks out of the bat grapple and into a hole in the palm of his hand. Which then begs the question why he has an open hand. I'm not entirely sure, because this probably could have just been an accessory that fit in his hand, like so, like that, and it would have worked. But at any rate, that's how you attach it. nubbed a hole, and then he's got his Batline launcher. As for how well this Batman is or is not articulated, well, we know the torso is going to have a ball joint, and that is actually fairly reasonable. Yeah, that's not too terrible at all. You've also got waist articulation. Now, the waist articulation does tend to be tighter on Todd's figures, but you can see there's 360, and there's also that bibble bobble motion, the same thing as the torso. His arms have that rounded hinge right up there in the armpit, and the armor does move out of the way. It's a softer rubber, so just be careful you don't get it stuck on the outside of the cape while you're moving his arm up. But he does get the regular range of motion from McFarlane Toys. He's got a bicep swivel, so we know that'll do 360. He's got the double jointed elbows, and even with the gauntlets, those arms crunch up nicely, and a rounded hinge right here in the wrist. The head, that's on a ball joint, and that's a pretty decent range of motion, actually. And down here, he's got a pretty good range of motion with that McFarlane style leg attachment groin. That's pretty good. And he also has ample rotation like this in the place of a thigh cut. Double jointed crunchy knees. Yeah, I like those. Those are very, very good. The boots actually don't have rotation. It seems like they do, but this is actually the rubber piece that fits over top of his leg there. So that's not actually an articulation point, but it does pick up again down here underneath the boot with a rounded hinge, as is usual, and toe articulation. Now, just to do a few comparisons, I've brought in a few McFarlane Batman figures. The one on the left is actually a custom that I've cobbled together. But next to that, we have the Batman 3 Jokers, and on the other side, we have Batfleck, and then we have the Detective Comics 1000. And now on to the Penguin, which, honestly, I would have never guessed if no one told me that was Colin Farrell underneath all that makeup and the fat suit. Kudos to the makeup department. Dude looks like a whole other guy. But this figure of the Penguin is Matt Reeves' reimagining of what a real-life The Penguin would be like. No wah-wah, no top hat, and he's not 4.5 feet tall. Just a mob boss's trench coat and big old jacket with a purple tie and lighter purple shirt. Now off the bat, the face sculpt for this Penguin figure, when caught in the right light, actually looks really good. Sometimes you can tell that the sculpt looks one way, but then the application of paint is, makes the face sculpt and the head sculpt look different. But I certainly think this looks reasonably enough like what you would expect the Penguin to look like in a live action movie. Now, Penguin's entire jacket is made out of one piece of solid, this is rubber, right? So the long coat, the jacket underneath, the shirt and the tie, this is all one piece. And there is some subtle difference in the color of paint that perhaps doesn't show up when you look at it at first glance, but you'll notice that these two different tones, well, they're different. And Penguin's dress pants, they actually look like kind of big, baggy dress pants. And one of the details of the original look for Penguin they actually kept, and that's the white bits that go over top of the shoes. I don't even know what you call those. So a very cool looking figure overall. As for how well this guy is articulated, you know what? I'm not even going to try here because, let's face it, it's just a great big rubber torso. So trying to get him in any pose here is kind of moot. But the head does retain that rounded ball joint action that all the heads are attached with. The arms do have the rounded hinge right there in the armpit, and that's a pretty reasonable-ish range of motion there. You've got a bicep swivel, you've got a single jointed elbow, and these single jointed elbows do about 90 degrees, but they do rotate around in a circle like that. And you guys all know that if I'm not going to get a double jointed elbow, I at least want to have that front and back rotation, which we do get here. Underneath the cuffs of his jacket, his wrists are attached, as always, by the rounded hinges, although the cuffs of the jacket will get in the way. You will get a 360 waist swivel out of this guy, and his groin down there, if you can see in the shadows, it's going to be the same attachment as all the rest of McFarlane's, but don't expect that much because the trench coat will be getting in the way. Not that the Penguin's going to be getting into very many dynamic poses. There's not a lot in the way of what you would consider a thigh cut. There's a little bit there. And then those knees, well, what does he get for knee articulation? Oh, I really got to push it. It's tight. You can hear the knee joint crunching there. You got the the ratchets. And that's really, is that what he gets? No, he should get more. Let's push harder. There we go. That's what he gets for the knee joints. That's not too bad. And you can get a rotation there as well. Underneath the knee, he's got the rounded hinge, the pivoty rounded hinge with the toe articulation. And as for the Penguin action figure comparisons, I've got a DC Direct Dark Victory Penguin, and then I've got the classic Danny DeVito Penguin from Mattel, and then on the other side there, I've got the DC Universe Classics Penguin. And next we move on to the Riddler, who is, if I'm being completely honest, totally unlike any version of the Riddler that I've ever seen. Combat boots, baggy military style pants. I think that's like a green raincoat. The question mark appears to be just a patch that's sewn onto the jacket, and an overall look that just, it does not scream Riddler. This isn't Todd's fault. This is just the design of the character in general. It's not Todd's job to design the character, it's just his job to replicate what the original look is of the character in 7-inch action figure form, which I think Todd has done a pretty good job of doing. And we'll start by looking at Bubbles Riddler's face sculpt up close. That's right, I said it. Bubbles Riddler. You know, Trailer Park Boys?
Hey, Batman, I got a riddle here for you. What's got 4 legs, it's covered in fur, it purrs, and it's really, really cute?
It's a cat.
Ooh, I thought I'd stump you with this one. That's right, the answer's a little kitty.
What exactly is he wearing on his face? I mean, I get it. That is supposed to be saran wrap. I'm pretty sure he has saran wrap on his face. And then this mask is, at first I thought it was a balaclava, but it's actually not. It just covers his face, and there's like a mouth piece here with some holes. This is really creepy. And the jacket that they have him in, I mean, it's green, so clearly, you know, it's supposed to be the Riddler, but I'm getting those, you know, I live in a dirty old warehouse, factory, dusty, abandoned place, and I just spend all my time doing meth and making up riddles. And I just want to say that this is a really bizarre accessory. We've already looked at it, but the fact that he comes with a chisel, I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I just gotta ask, what is he gonna do with that? I like the pants. The pants look very pantsy. You can see the texture of all the threads of the pants, and these boots are really well done too. I really like these combat style boots. Although this Riddler is not my ideal appearance for a Riddler, I will say that it kind of does match what I feel like Matt Reeves is going for. I mean, if I put my thumb over the question mark, you'd have no idea this is the Riddler. Someone would have to tell you that's the Riddler. Not immediately recognizable at all. As for how well this guy's articulated, well, he's going to have the same issue as the Penguin has. That being that the coat really does get in the way. Don't try to pose him in any way, shape, or form with the torso, because you're just going to be met with disappointment. But the head is really well articulated, so, you know, I suppose that's a thing. You got the arms, which, as always, rounded joint there, bicep swivel, crunchy 2-jointed elbows, rounded hinge in the wrist, and then down here we know what he's going to have. Don't expect it to be super articulated because the rubber jacket gets in the way. Does he have much of this? A little bit, not much to write home about, and double-jointed knees for doing that with. Won't go any higher. That's about it. And finally, the feet are on those rounded joints with the pivoting motion and the toe articulation. How much do these toes go up? Oh, they go right up. Now we can see here by comparing this Riddler to a bunch of others that I have that he's way different. We have the DC Universe Classics, and then we have the DC Universe Classics, and on the other side we have Greg Capullo, and then we have an old school DC Direct First Appearance Riddler. And next we move on to everyone's favorite sexy cat burglar and Batman's love interest, Selina Kyle the Catwoman. And if I'm being completely honest, this is not a terrible design for the character. She's retained most of her comic book appearance, with added details here and there, and texture to the suit and whatnot. If nobody told me this was Catwoman, I would still know that this is Catwoman, so it's not a horrible design. I will say that the design of Catwoman's face is not really something that makes me scream, I love it! Usually Catwoman's eyes are covered and the bottom of her face is uncovered, but for the movie they've gone with the opposite, at least for the beginning. This is clearly like a year one Catwoman as well, so balaclava it is. But I wonder what she's looking at though with her eyes all off to the side like that. What are you looking at there, Catwoman? Could it be this whip? I have no idea what this whip is supposed to be. I know that it comes in links, like sausages, or like if you've got worms and they're in sections, but I don't know what the significance of this is. I mean, that appears to me to be the handle, but the end, I don't know what the heck that is. What is that on the end of Catwoman's whip? It looks like a bolt, or I have no idea. Is this actually a whip, or is this like, I don't know. Is it a piece of tech? I'll find out when I watch the movie, I guess. And up close and personal, the figure looks awesome. I do like all the textures in her suit here. I really like those. I feel like a fantastic job has been done in actually differentiating the various parts of her suit on her body. You'll notice on the knee area of her suit, as well as the elbows, there's room for the suit to stretch where it's bunched together. That's the design of the suit like that. Extra material so that when she bends her legs, she actually will have a full range of motion. And as for that range of motion, what does she have? Well, I will tell you that the waist is tight. It does have a full range of motion, but it is very, very, very tight. So I'm not going to bother really trying to move that around because it's a bugger to get it back in place. She also has torso articulation, and there's actually a really, really good range of movement in that torso. Very satisfied with that. The head, even though it's on a ball joint, does have a limited range of motion because the balaclava hangs down over her neck like that and impedes it. She does also have the rounded hinges in the arms there, and they're actually really well articulated. I'm very, very satisfied with what she has there. The bicep swivel 360, the double crunchy elbows like that, with the wrists on the rounded hinges. But remember, she's got the sleeves, so that's probably going to get in the way to some extent. You've also got down here, that's the typical McFarlane groin area. There's a little bit of motion like this, that roundy round motion like that. Of course, she's got double jointed knees, and McFarlane does those very well. No anything down here like that, but she does have the rounded hinge right here, which gives a really, really great range of motion, and a pivot as well as a toe articulation piece that crunches right up. And then for Catwoman's time in the comparison spotlight, I brought in the Mafex Hush version all the way on the left there, followed by the DC Collectibles New 52 Motorboat Cleavage Catwoman. And then on the other side, we've got the Greg Capullo, followed by the Batman Arkham Knight video game version of Catwoman. So now that we've had a brief look at all four of these action figures from McFarlane Toys, what do I think about them? Do I think that Todd actually did a pretty good job in recreating the appearance of these characters from the Matt Reeves Batman movie? Or do I think the figures are garbage? Do I think that the design of all the characters is garbage and it's all just garbage? Well, no, I think that Todd did a pretty rad job of recreating faithfully the appearances of these characters in 7-inch scale action figure form, so kudos to Todd for that. I will say that I'm not a super fan of some aspects of the designs of the characters. I've been over that. Catwoman's balaclava, the overall appearance of the Riddler. I really do wish that the Penguin had came with an umbrella or something, one other item that defined that he is who he is. Could the Penguin and the Riddler have been more articulated? I suppose so, if you didn't want to go with the rubber jackets and went with the old school jacket over top of the articulation pieces. I suppose there are different ways to do it, but in the end, the articulation points in the torso for those characters isn't something that's going to hinder me from enjoying these. And to be honest, I've just really enjoyed making this video. It's been a fun little brief time. I haven't spent as long on each figure, but I really had fun sort of dorking around with them and fiddling with their articulation points and stuff like that. So if you see these guys hanging on the pegs at your local Walmart or Target or comic shop, or maybe you want to purchase them from your favorite online retailer, well, you know what you're getting into because you've seen this video and you've made it this far, so you know exactly what they have to offer. I personally am satisfied that I bought them, and as a DC collector and a Batman fan, I can recommend these to you and say that, yeah, I think that they're definitely worth the $19.99 price point. Anyway, that's all for me today. Thank you so much, super friends. Have yourself an awesome, super fantastic DC day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.